fellas? Welcome to Del Tales Podcast today. And this is something that we have to talk about real quick since the punishment has been, brought down finally by the Big Ten, which, of course, they say will be looked at in court. But let's run through this real quick and kind of look at this. So, it almost seems like no one wants a good Michigan football team this year. I'm not quite sure if I fully understand it, man. I really want to try to understand why so many people want to bring Michigan down on the 1 year that they're actually good. I'm a Buckeye through and through. I can't stand Michigan, but the Big Ten definitely needs a good Michigan team. And Ohio State wants a good Michigan team to beat if they can do it this year. It's been tough for the last 2 years, but let's kind of delve into this past week and see what's going on. There were a lot of rumors about the punishments that could come down for Jim Harbaugh and what they might end up doing. They thought Michigan would punish him, but then it ended up being the Big Ten that actually sent down the punishment. But at the same time, the Big Ten admitted they had nothing on him. I think they just wanted to make an example out of him. They just wanted people to know that, hey, we're willing to make disciplinary decisions if we have to. And the Big Ten commissioner doesn't have to look bad for playing too soft. But let's be honest with ourselves. If this was the SEC and this was Georgia or Alabama, none of these punishments would come down. And that's kind of where the problem kind of stems from. So what is it with people wanting Michigan to be down so bad? Why can we not have a good Michigan football team, right now in college football, making everything so much more interesting? Just why? So today, we got to see no Jim Harbaugh on the sideline. We got the offensive coordinator who was actually the head coach on the sideline today. Jim Harbaugh is still allowed to coach the team during the week. He just cannot coach on the sidelines at the games, or I don't even think they'll allow him in the stadiums for this very reason. But his team has his back. I don't really care if he's out of the sideline for next week, which I believe they play Maryland, but I definitely want him to be on the sideline for Ohio State because I think that can make a big difference. But either way, I think his team has his back, and I think they're able to play without him being on the sideline because they still know the game plan. He's still a very effective coach. So I don't really know what this big want to put Michigan out on the side really is. I'm trying to figure that part out still. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Once again, the Big Ten proved Harbaugh had nothing to do with this, and people still just wanted him punished for no reason. So looking at what he's being punished for, a lot of people are saying this was for sign stealing and stuff like that. I just want people to know this is a very common thing. Signs are constantly stolen in football, which is why signs are constantly changed week to week, sometimes every 2 weeks, whatever it may be. That's the reason why you see college football teams with poster boards on the sideline with 4 to 8 pictures on them so that you don't have to worry about stealing their signs or anything like that, and you don't know which one they're actually talking about at that time. So it definitely rests on the coaches, to fix the issue with the call signs, change them week to week. NFL coaches tend to cover their mouths as they're talking so that, there are no lip readers or anything like that can pick up on what they're saying to kind of hide it. So this is nothing new in football. Plus, remember, guys, we have tape. You review tape every week, you're going to see certain things on the sideline. Coaches are going to catch on to that, and they're going to be like, oh, hey, if they do that, let's change over to this, whatever it may be. But handling this situation live is a whole different story. So you can have the call signs and everything. That doesn't mean it's effective on the field. So a lot of these Big Ten coaches are saying that, Michigan had an unfair advantage. Did Michigan have an unfair advantage, or were they just better than you? Because the way it looks on the field is that they were just better than you. And plus, they also mentioned that this happened over the last few years. So this is not even a 1 year thing. Michigan wasn't undefeated over the last few years completely. They've had down years. They've had losses and things of that nature. It was really the last 2 years that they've excelled. But other than that, are you telling me that other coaches have the same call signs for 2 to 3 years? I don't really see the competitive advantage. I think they're just better on the field and they're better coached. That's it. So going back to Harbaugh, he cannot be on the sideline for the next 3 games. But once again, Michigan said that they will take this to court. So this is something that will be looked at further by a judge. And the Michigan-Penn State game was something very interesting that I think it was a very enjoyable classic game that many people will enjoy to watch. So if you missed the game, it was a very close nail-biter. Michigan ended up winning the game 24-15. They really had to close the game out in the fourth quarter. It was a very good defensive battle, and just a very enjoyable game. But in case you missed the game, I'm just going to go over some details because I honestly think Penn State beat themselves in this game. I don't think Michigan actually dominated the game. Now, in the trenches, at the offensive line and defensive line, Michigan definitely dominated. But as an overall product of the game, Penn State beat themselves in many different ways, and we'll cover that right now. So in the beginning of the game, Michigan comes out, goes in a quick 3 and out. Penn State gets the ball. They can't do much better. They do end up kicking a field goal, though, afterwards. But the very first thing you start to notice is even without Harbaugh on the sideline, Michigan is making a lot of little adjustments to keep up with the game. They're making sure that they don't lose too much control of the game or they're not too far behind to make sure that they can still come back, which was very important in this game. One play that I've noticed Michigan run quite a lot in this game, and it even led to their first touchdown and Blake Corum's, almost 30-yard run, is the offensive line is shifting the entire defensive line to the right side of the field, while the very edge defensive lineman is taking on the outside linebacker. They ran this play successfully multiple times, and I'll show you some video here about that. And this is something that Ohio State definitely needs to watch out for in a few weeks because, once again, we've seen Ohio State come out in this 4-2-5 defense quite a lot. And that can be a really big problem against Michigan because it'll make that line really weak. Remember, Michigan has 7 offensive linemen that we all know can clearly play in the NFL and will play in the NFL. So they're going to bring in extra big guys just to open up those running lanes with these same plays. And the problem is, can you stop the execution? Because Michigan is executing at a high level. So this very play is allowing a lot of misdirection for the running back to run out to the left side of the field while the offensive line is moving to the right. The same play comes back and forth in the entire game, and you'll hear me talk about it. So Penn State took quite a lot of times to adjust in the game. They started with the run game. It was successful until it wasn't. And they kept trying to go back to the run game. I mean, they had a 3rd and 6 play where they thought they were going to run the ball up the gut and Scott stopped. And they had to convert a 4th and 6, throwing the ball. So, these are the little adjustments that I'm really talking about. But all of these adjustments are coaching. The players are not going to be the ones to make these adjustments because the coaches are the ones calling the plays. So, if you're Penn State, you find yourself down 14-3 in the game, and you had to convert a 4th and 6, and then just a few plays later, you got to convert a 4th and 1. Having to make that decision 2 times back-to-back, once again, comes down to coaching and play calling. So you convert 2 fourth downs, and then Drew Aller gets into the end zone with a quarterback scramble. Instead of running the ball on that 3rd and 6, putting yourself in a 4th and 6 position, why wasn't that quarterback scramble play called for Drew Aller? We see that his feet are a weapon in the game, and we see that Michigan was selling out to stop the run. So why was the focus never on Drew Aller himself? So that at least you have another weapon to make that defense think about. They can sell out on the run, but when it comes to a passing play, you forget about my quarterback, I'm going to beat you. Why didn't they use that as a weapon in this game? You had what Michigan was giving you. Aller became the biggest threat in the game, passing and running. The defense was basically looking at Penn State and saying, beat me with the pass. But for some reason, Penn State's ego got to the play callers, and they're like, no, we're going to run it down up the gut, and never got anywhere. They also tried a 2-point conversion after scoring this touchdown. It's 14-9. Kick the extra point, it's 14-10. Your defense comes out, holds Michigan to a field goal. Now it's 17-9 because you went for that 2-point conversion that you did not get. This was the deciding factor in the game, literally. In the 4th quarter, Blake Corum comes out after, 4th down and 6, where Drew Aller just throws the ball dead in the middle of the field. I'm not exactly sure if it was the pressure in his face that made him throw the ball, or was there supposed to be a receiver there and that was miscommunication. But I will show video on this as well, and you can see the ball just being thrown down in the middle of the field as if he's just throwing it away. And I didn't really understand that decision. And Michigan made them pay for that mistake because Blake Corum comes out in the very next play and runs the ball 20-some yards down for a touchdown. So in one play. So this kind of put them on the back of the ball. Penn State, once again, beat themselves today. It's that simple. I don't really know why the coaches did not just adjust to this game. You got a crowd of 110,000 people. You got to use that crowd to your advantage. But they kind of got conservative. They got complacent. They thought the simple things is what's going to be what wins this game. Your A game is what's going to beat Michigan and or Ohio State, not simplicity. You got to bring out the best of what you got, because that's all you have to show. You only get 60 minutes in the game to show that you can compete with these guys. And you're losing games based on being way too conservative, and I think that's the problem in this situation. Penn State beat themselves. The Big Ten chaos is still going on. However, we're not going to have a three-way tie because Penn State has already lost to Ohio State and Michigan. So the three-way tie idea is gone. But now the question is, here in 2 weeks, can Ohio State beat Michigan? And I'm telling you, it's going to be tough. It's not going to be easy. Maybe if you outscore them, that's great. But Ohio State is not really a team right now that's a huge scoring threat, meaning they're not going to come out and blow the top off the defense the way that we used to see. They're not coming out and we're expecting them to put up 55 points like a Washington week in, week out, or even 35 points. They're definitely good enough to beat you, and their defense is amazing. But the offense is kind of where the question marks start to come in, especially with Kyle McCord. Sometimes he's really on, and sometimes it's kind of off, so you never really know what you're getting week in and week out, and that's kind of where the hard times kind of fall together. But definitely tell me what you guys think about this Michigan-Penn State game. We got a lot more college football going on today, so let's sit back and enjoy some football, enjoy the weekend, and you guys have a good one. Peace out, y'all.